Welcome to my video series, The Heroine's Journey. I'm Susanna Liller, and it's time to find your happiness. So I reached out to people and asked them what questions they might have for me about the work that I do, about the work about the heroine's journey that I talk so much about. I particularly wrote and asked my real life heroines in my network for real life heroines on Facebook, which you can always find me there and find the group and ask to join. You are welcome. And I said, ask me, what are the questions that need clarifying? You hear me talk about this. Now it's your turn to ask any question, and any question, no matter how you might think it's crazy, it's not crazy. It's something I would like to talk about and clarify. So I got great questions, and I thank you for that. And I'm not going to answer all of them today, but I've picked out a few that I have written down, and I would like to address them. And as I'm talking to you, if you think of additional questions, Susanna at susannaliller.com, please send them to me. And maybe this is something that I do once a month now. See what questions come in. All right, but let's get started. So the first one, what is the heroine's journey about anyway? That's a really good way to begin. You know how we learn through stories, particularly when we're little. We have those teaching stories like The Boy Who Cried Wolf and The Three Little Pigs, and they all have some sort of lesson that whoever is helping us grow up when we're little, they want us to learn. And we do remember it because stories, telling it as a story, is a way to remember. If you want to teach something, don't lecture, tell a story. Well, the best way we learn as adults is with storytelling as well. And this isn't something new that we've learned. This has been throughout thousands of years. Civilizations have told stories as a way of teaching. And this particular, the heroine's journey story, which started out and has always been talked about as the hero's journey, started out as a story thousands of years ago, and it has been repeated and repeated in all civilizations throughout time, this adventure of the hero and the steps, the process that hero goes through. Now, I am a coach, and I coach women. I'm an empowerment coach, and I'm all about helping them see that they're on the journey and making it relevant to them. So I call it and talk about it all the time as the heroine's journey. And again, it's something that once you learn it and once you learn the steps, it sticks with you and you can see your own life reflected in the journey. And I have, as part of this making it relevant to today's women, I have made it more personal to them. I have created a map that goes with it and steps that go with the map and tools and exercises to help a person along the journey. So it's a story. It's been with us forever. And if you think about it, if it wasn't so important, people wouldn't have kept telling it. There wouldn't have been a message that they wanted you to hear, even though you're not living in Homer's time. But the message being, life has us leave our comfort zone and go into the unknown on an adventure. Either forced to do it or we choose to do it, but that's how we grow. So question number 2 is, why call it heroin? Susanna, isn't that a drug? Yeah, heroin without the E on the end of it is a drug. But what's so interesting, I looked at it initially and thought, how can I use that name? Even, people won't notice the spelling. I actually have a necklace that says heroin, and people will look at it and go, heroin? Why do you have a heroin necklace? Well, it has an E on the end. But I decided to take back the name from the drug company. The name itself, heroin with an E, if you look at the etymology of the word, was in use way before the drug ever came on the scene, introduced by the Bayer company. And it meant, I will tell you, it stood for a demigoddess or a venerated woman, a well-respected woman, a strong and powerful woman. And that's how it was used until 1898, when heroin was coined in a trademark by Frederick Bayer and Company. And they chose the name heroin because of hero in there, because the drug made people feel strong and brave like a hero. So, yeah, I repudiated that and said, let's go back to how it initially was used, heroin with an E, and be proud to use it. Here's one. Why teach personal development using the heroine's journey? In other words, we could talk about personal development and have it be, yes, people tend to want to stay where they are. They don't want to leave. It's uncomfortable. And so how do you get people to leave and change? And we could talk about all those things and never even mention the heroine's journey. I was an English teacher. I taught mythology. I taught stories. Again, it's such a good way to teach. It's such a good way to get people to remember how we grow. And so much more interesting to me. I could talk about the comfort zone, or I could talk about ordinary life. And that's where the character starts. And just like Dorothy, she was in Kansas and things were pretty ordinary, but feelings were starting to come up with her where she wanted to make a change. Well, to approach it through that door, to me, makes it more interesting, makes it more fun. Certainly, again, you don't have to teach it or learn it that way. But also, I believe, because the story has been with us for so long, it's what we call an archetype, residing in our collective unconscious. If you believe Jung, the psychologist's theory about archetypes and how they stay with us, and just like those lessons that we need to learn, there's power to knowing this, to knowing the archetype and what the steps are, and being aware that you are on a road, on a journey. And if you look through that lens, then you can see your life differently. So it's inspiring to me, and it's inspiring to the women that have worked with me using the heroine's journey. The next question: why talk about Joseph Campbell using the heroine's journey? What's his relevance? He's a guy, he taught school at Sarah Lawrence College. He passed away in the 70s. Why talk about him? Well, he is the person that really brought the hero's journey into popular awareness. And he and Bill Moyers did a film for public TV called The Power of Myth about the journey. And it was great and well received, and you can still watch it. And he has a foundation, jc.org, that you can go to and get all kinds of great information. he was a mythologist, so he studied all the myths, and he's the one that said, wow, there's this common story that keeps showing up everywhere, no matter what country, what civilization, what continent, in what time. Here's this story about the journey of the hero and going through very similar steps. And one thing he really liked about it was that it was a way of unifying us in the world. We all have this story in our literary storytelling background. And I really liked that about it too. I have a background as a mediator. So finding common ground is something that I think is really important to do, whether you're having an argument or whether you're trying to bring a country or the world together. We all have this story. And so he did that, but there's other people that actually did it before him, not quite as successfully. A man named Otto Rank and Lord Raglan both also looked at stories and found common elements and talked about them and wrote about them. So, and then we have a very modern day woman, Maria Tatar, who wrote the book, The Heroines with 1,001 Faces, that I'm still making my way through. And she has all kinds of other fabulous, brilliant observations. And there's been a lot of criticism about Joseph Campbell lately, that he was maybe a misogynist. He didn't really address how women take the journey. Maureen Murdoch, in her book, The Heroine's Journey, she does that. I think he was a product of his age. It was before the next wave of the feminist movement. It's when Rodgers and Hammerstein, still the South Pacific, There's Nothing Like a Dame was being sung. It was a different era. And it'd be interesting if he were alive today, how he'd talk about this. But I credit him for being somebody who brought it to the fore, brought it to our consciousness, this remarkable pattern. And it has been so useful to me in, again, as a teaching device, but also helping women gain confidence and see their lives differently. The next one is, how can you call yourself a fairy godmother, Susanna? Well, I mean, why not? I love fairy godmothers. In all the fairy tales, they're helpers. They come when the person in the story needs assistance, needs to find a way out. I'm a coach. It's what coaches do. I guess all coaches could be called fairy godmothers. No, I have no magic. I don't have a magic wand. I can't even help you get to the ball. Well, maybe I could. But I think what I do is help you see the magic within you. And that could be the biggest gift that any coach could give you, because it's there. And I always tell my coaching clients, I don't have the answers, you do. We just have to help you see that you already have them inside of you. The next one, do you really think we can get to our happily ever after? And what does that mean? So I'll tell you, it doesn't mean finding the prince, though it might. It's different for everybody, the happily ever after. It's what you are looking for, what you want. And absolutely, I think you can get there. I know you can get there. And sometimes your journey will have incredible challenges. But again, it could be those very challenges you're growing as a result of them that gets you to where you need to go. And again, I think it's very helpful to have tools, navigational tools that you can use on the journey to find your way. But absolutely, you can get to your happily ever after, whatever that is for you. And then here's a question, the last one that I will end with, and it's pretty common. And the question is, am I too old? I want this. I know what I want. I'd like to go after it. But am I too old? I've already had a career. I've already put all my eggs in this basket. I'm rusty. I want to get my PhD, but I haven't been in school for 20 years. I would say that if you're getting a call to do something, and it's the call that's connected to your purpose and who you are, then it's going to be very hard to ignore it. I just talked with a woman recently, and she had left a company that she had been in, and she said, I couldn't not do it. I had to leave that company. And she was talking about leaving a career that she had been in, planned for, thought that was going to be her career, and then ended up hating it. And she was in her 40s, and then she'd have to be starting over. And I can tell you, I've done it more than once, left and had to start over. And looking back, I'm so glad that I did. So I would say no. And I live in Maine. We have the Down East magazine. On the cover is a 101-year-old lobster woman. The issue is devoted to 70 people, 70 and over, and what they're doing. And as somebody who's turning 70 in a couple weeks, I can tell you, old, it's being redefined every day. So don't let that stop you. Heroines, I'm so glad that you have joined me to listen in on what these questions are from other heroines, like-minded journey travelers like you. And again, submit any questions that you might have. I'd love to answer them. And most of all, remember, always, you are a heroine.